Here he is, Johnny Waactor. Hey, man.
Johnny Waactor. Hey, dude, I didn't even know. I heard you got hooked. Is that true?
I got meat hooked.
Oh, there we go.
There's a lot. There's a lot. Let's be real. There's a lot of meat to hook.
I
appreciate the compliment.
All right. All right.
Bradford's going for it today. Bradford's going for it.
But before we started recording, you like we talk about us going out on the road all the time, but you were just on the road. You and Mr. Coloma.
We sure
yeah, tell us about that. Was that your first experience? I know you've met the viewers and other opportunities, but this was the first time you and he had done something together like that, right?
It is, yeah. So I mean, I've done a few other shows, but more in a big group setting. So like 5 or 6. Or I did the Burbank convention earlier this year, and there was a lot more people than that. So the burden of entertainment. Or I wouldn't say the burden, but like
the opportunity, but it feels opportunity comes with responsibility.
Responsibility. Good word.
Responsibility. That's the word I'm looking for. The responsibility to entertain for hour and a half started to kind of like really weigh. I was like, oh man, what are we going to do?
What are we going to do?
You know, because I've heard about y'all's show, and it's like, dude, you guys got bells and whistles, it's lights, it's sound, there's music, you guys are doing comedy, you guys are doing sketches, like, so, and then I saw the day players, people are playing music, so I'm like, Marcus, what the hell are we gonna do, man?
Right. Right.
And he just kind of eased my nerves, because I think he had done a show with Maurice down in the Irvine Improv, and Maurice had done I did like a comedy stand-up, and then they just kind of chatted and stuff, but for this first one, we didn't do a big musical number, didn't do a sketch, didn't do, big lights and stuff, but we just had conversation, and the big thing, I think, talking about Brando Corbin's death, a lot of people wanted to hear about that and talk about that, so it's kind of
So where you guys went to Rockwell's, and where else did you go?
We went so we had a private dinner in Astoria, New York, which is in Queens, which was awesome.
Yeah.
That was probably my favorite thing, because we got to sit down, chum it up with everybody. Of course you take photos and stuff afterwards, but like, just sitting down and talking with people.
Yeah. It's
awesome.
Yes, man. Eating good food. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's great. So you did the private dinner, you did Rockwell's, and did you do one more, or did you guys just do those two?
We were gonna do Boston, but we ended up having to reschedule. Marcus had gotten sick, and we had to go to Boston, unfortunately, but I'd love to make it back, man.
Well, there's something in this thing that we do is only came about in the last 3, 4, 5 years, but previous to that, you go into a room full of energetic people that you all speak the same language, because we all watch the same show. We can relate over, you can make a joke in the show and everyone gets it. Like, and so the way it would always work. And, if you're good at being on your feet, someone asks a question and then you answer it. And then, especially if you get someone else up on stage with you, that can start a back and forth that isn't planned out, but is still funny. You can make jokes about each other. And then, one question might start a 10-minute something.
Exactly. And that's what we were discovering, and it's interesting too, kind of like the different personas that, we kind of take on, not necessarily the personas, but like, Marcus Coloma kind of has this like self-deprecating humor when he gets on stage, and I'll kind of like, goad him a bit, and pick on him like I do with my brothers. That's my love language, is to like talk shit and roast, and but we encourage each other too, so it's really, we've kind of, even after one show, developed kind of this like, I think kind of like our own kind of relationship on stage,
chemistry.
And then it's always fun to find, and there's something so the energy you get when you feel that. Do you know, when you feel that vibe and you're like, hey, we're rolling here. This is it's great. It's great. It's great. Yeah. So when you find someone that you can do that with, it's a real joy. So congratulations. That's great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And how did it feel? Well, first of all, like, this is a weird thing, and you seem to be in a good place with it, but how did you find out that Brando was going to not make it?
Oh man. Well, so how did I find it? Well, I'll tell you this. So I shot a movie this August, and which I got the okay to go on, and it was
Yeah.
one that I was producing with some friends. A friend of mine wrote it,
Awesome,
directed it,
man.
and a bunch of my friends were in and acting it. So it was really
Oh,
kind of a special project.
yeah.
The day that I'm flying out to New York to go shoot this thing, I get a text from my manager, and he's like, "Hey, give me a shout when you can." So I'm like, "Okay."
Oh, boy.
Oh, oh.
Packing, and packing for the movie, and he's like, "Hey, so General Hospital called. They're gonna not renew and come January." And I was like, "Okay, well," I was like, not shocked, but like also was unexpected today.
Sure.
Um, and but I was like, okay, well, I will I'll deal with this when I get back. The movie shoots less than 2 weeks. And so I, hop on the plane, we're shooting the movie, one of the best, most creative, fulfilling experiences of my life.
Awesome.
And then a week from that day, it was Friday, it was the middle of our shoot. I'm about to do a scene, and I get a text from Sophia, and she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I can't believe what they're doing. Like, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, and I'd gotten the scripts the day before. I hadn't read them yet because we were just in the middle of the shoot. And I was like, oh boy. So I wrapped that day, read, and it was my last 6 episodes that were going to be the Thursday and Friday next week. And I was flying back Wednesday to get COVID tested. And then I knew I had to work those days, but I didn't know it was going to be my last 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Wow. So that was really abrupt.
Yeah, it was much sooner. It was much sooner than I had anticipated because, I was, thinking until January.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was pretty quick.
But sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I just want to explain kind of to people who are listening, just because it was January, we have a certain amount of episodes to fulfill, right? So you get paid for those episodes regardless. So, even if you had some left, you get paid. And if you didn't, you get paid. So it's okay. Right.
Yeah.
So, and I don't mean it's okay. I just wanted to explain that, that you could have been like, sometimes people are over their guarantees, right? We're guaranteed a certain amount of episodes per month. Some people are over. And that's why sometimes you won't see people on air for 2 months because they're over their guarantee, right? And they don't work them. Every show does this, by the way, not just General Hospital.
Right.
Historically, like, people work their guarantees, and if you're over, you can take a little break, get on the bench.
Right. In the early 2000s, it wasn't always that way. Like,
no, it wasn't. But
as
now it is.
budgets have gotten tightened and people have to project their budgets and meet their budgets, there is not, people don't go over their guarantees anymore.
So Johnny, how long were you on the show for?
So I guess about. I first started filming December of 2019. My first episode aired, I think, January 26th or 30th of 2020. So about 2.5 years.
Okay, that's a good run. That's a good run.
I was on contract for two of them. Not through January.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, and like the timing of your, like, creating your own movie or creating your own work and doing it with your, and now that that's done filming, the work isn't over with that. I mean, right? Because are you part of the editing process?
I'm not part of the editing process. That's going to be up to our director, writer, and then also mostly on the plate of our principal photographer, our DP.
Yeah.
Which she's very talented DP and equally talented editor. And so, but we're calling in a lot of favors. We did this very low budget. A lot of friends are coming in and very helpful. Like we've got, professional, like sound mixers, sound producers.
What's it called? Do you want to talk about kind of what it's about?
Sure, man. God, if I don't have an elevator pitch for it.
No, it's all right.
We already shot it, but
this is a long form interview. You don't need an elevator pitch. We got time.
It's so the film is called American Sognare. Sognare is the Italian word for dreaming. So American dreaming. And my friend Luca Perito, we had gone to the same acting studio and known each other for a while. He had originally wrote this as a 1-act play.
Cool.
And this was about 7 years ago. And, you know, workshopped it in the studio, and over time, it turned into he wrote a full-length feature film. And then, you know, for the last year and change, he was like, we're going to produce this. And so originally he was going to be in it, and I was not a part of it. And he reached out to me earlier this year and asked me, you know, to read the script, tell me the people that were involved. And I was like, well, before even reading it, like I'm probably going to say yes, because I want to work with these people. They're my friends, you know?
Right.
And I read it, and it was a brilliant script. And so he took a step back from his role to just direct. His buddy and our buddy took his position, and I took my buddy's position. So it's about an American Italian family in New York. And there is, you know, the main protagonist, the son, he moves away to Los Angeles to pursue his dream, acting. And he's gone for years, and his experience is much like most people's, where you're going out on auditions and you just keep getting rejected and rejected. And every time you go home for holidays, it's like, hey, how's that acting thing going? You know,
Right.
you know, we know that.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, when are you moving back home? When are you going to give up on it? You know, that old business. And like, and then he's like, you know, like he's thinking about quitting because he's, you know, he's booked 3 things in like 8 years, you know, and it's just cop roll with 4 lines. And
Sure.
And so his last, it takes place over 2 days. You know, the first day that he's home, and it's kind of, it jumps back and forth, kind of like a Memento, where it's like,
Sure.
time jumps. And so the first day is, you know, he's back, and he's seeing his best friend and his best friend's sister, where some love finally happens between them, and unbeknownst to the brother, that's me. And then the next day is his return for his mother's funeral. So his mother's kind of the matriarch of not only the family, but also kind of like the neighborhoods and the neighborhood friend group and stuff. And so everyone knew that his mother had terminal cancer, and she asked them to keep it a secret from him, because she didn't want him to come home and stop pursuing his dreams. So his next time home is for her funeral, and he's upset and confronting everybody why they didn't tell him. And no one's telling him, you know, no one's like, hey, or everyone's just like, hey, like, she didn't want us to, like, that was her last dying wish. What do you want us to do? Yeah. So it's dark, but it is also hilarious. It's a dark comedy.
Great, man. Sounds awesome, dude.
Yeah. It's and like I said, I mean, it was probably the most fulfilling creative project that I've ever worked on. So
yeah,
cool, man.
Well, that's, dude, that what a great time for that to come into your life. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
How was it filming the you know, because obviously you and Sophia have gotten, you know, close as acting partners, and I mean, and you struggled, like, so question. You laid your hands on the hooker. So
don't do it, Johnny.
Now, without revealing anything to our listeners, was the actual person that you struggled with the actual person that's going to be named as the killer?
No.
Right. That's what
they probably had a stunt person.
Yeah. I don't even know if it was a stunt person. It was
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nobody I'd ever seen before.
Got it.
Right. Right. Now, now, do you know who the identity of the killer is?
No.
Right.
No, I mean, they've kept it top secret.
Right.
So yeah, I guess they didn't trust me.
or
anybody else on set.
Or they don't know.
Or they don't know yet.
Or they don't know
yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. TBD.
It might be my twin brother killing myself, you know, who knows?
Yeah, you never know,
wouldn't that be a good time?
There you go. That's interesting.
Or my father.
Who's your dad?
Exactly. No one. It could be.
No one.
Yeah.
No one.
I gotta say, one of our patrons pitched it's Spinelli's evil twin. And I was like, ooh, I'm into that.
Dude, of course you're into that, because you'll work more.
and I'll have a twin. I'll get paid twice.
So the twin has no goatee and you have a goatee.
That'll be hard. It takes me a while to grow this.
Yeah, that's gonna be doing the jump cuts. I guess you'll just have to get one of those glue-on ones.
That's great.
Yeah.
Or you can just shave yours, Johnny, and I can make a.
Johnny's going for something.
I know.
Now. We're not sure.
I'm
pretty good.
I'm auditioning for this 1850s Western.
Awesome.
So I'm growing the beard out right now.
Oh, nice.
It looks great, dude.
You'd be great at that. You will do a little face off. I'll just peel it off.
There you go.
Put it on.
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Hey, so what are some of the things? And we'll let you go here in a second. But what were some of the things that GH taught you from an acting standpoint?
Oh, man. Lots. One of the things Lisa LoCicero told me this was pretty early on. She said, just remember, like it's never as bad as you think, and it's never as good as you want it to be. And I mean, this being my first soap, it was working at that pace where you're doing 1, maybe 2 takes. That was valuable, and I don't think I really applied it until maybe a year plus in.
Sure.
Because you just have to, and it's kind of like being a quarterback on the field. Like, you have a bad play, you can't dwell on that. You got to move on. You got to forget, have short-term memory, and just go.
Yep.
And then also like, not let that be any sort of an excuse. This guy, Steve Burton, he told me, he's like, know your lines. He's like, show up and know your lines. He's like, that's your number one job. If you show up and you know your lines and you make everyone's day easier and you make the day go faster, you'll stay here. So I've always tried to do that. And then also, I'll tell you this is kind of a segue, but Bradford, it's funny because, Stone Cold, you're an intimidating figure, but I was most intimidated working with you, Bradford.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because I remember, like, I think our first scene together, it was at Brando's garage, and you were off doing your preparation. You have a very kind of like vocal, but like it's a very focused and kind of like separate, preparation, and you're going over your lines, and it's so fast, and like you're so like verbatim, word for word, letter for letter. And I am one who I'm like, God, I hope I can get away with saying this over that, and just, working with you, I was just intimidated by that level of professionalism, and where it just seemed very fluid, and not that you were difficult to work with. I got in my head seeing that. I was like, oh man. And then, like, you were just going, and I kept messing up, and I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like,
dude, I'm sorry.
I'm getting the meat hook today. But yeah, no, that was just awesome. The memory I just had that occurred to me. But yeah, just I think showing up to work and like being able to work fast. And man, I tell you what, like, having tutelage and watching you guys work, and coming to set every day, having to work with just one take, like, it's helped me. Like, I feel prepared for anything.
So how did that translate to what you just did in New York? Like,
I wouldn't have been I think this movie was the best acting that I've done top to bottom in anything ever. And it required a lot from me as well. And also, I was one of the producers. So we're sleeping 2 to 3 hours a night. Why? Because you got to make a movie, and like, you only got so many people, so much money, you make shit happen.
Yeah,
totally.
So if I didn't come prepped and be able, like, know all my stuff, be able to access what I needed to emotionally like that, so that we could get these scenes, because we're, it's raining tomorrow and we got to get it today.
Oh gosh. 10
other pages tomorrow. It's like, I mean, it translated well, but I will tell you this, not having 4 cameras on you at the same time, don't blow your wad when they're doing coverage on somebody else.
There you go.
Well, I know that's the trick. That's why film actors, they got all the tricks that, 1 to 2 takes. Like when I did The Last Castle, like we shot everything, and I probably told the story, but what you're talking about, being on a show prepared me, because literally it was just one, it was one set. So you just turn the camera around and you could shoot a whole nother thing. Right. So that's when the director came up and said, hey, we're shooting the end of the movie right now, the most climatic part of the, of the movie. And I go, wait, that was supposed to be in 10 days. He goes, well, do you know your stuff? I go, yeah, I know my stuff. Okay, we're going to shoot that. And I'm like, then you got 300 extras. They're literally turning the camera around, getting ready to go. And I just have to go in a corner and just prepare for a couple minutes. And then I was ready. And that was because of working on a soap opera.
Yeah.
I mean, no other actor probably would have got, they'd be like, no way, dude. I ain't doing the end of the movie right now.
Totally.
You know, and that's what it is. That's the best training there is for us. Like that,
well,
being thrown, you're thrown into the fire and you're okay in the fire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because you've been there before already.
You've been in there. You're like, I work
times.
here. Go ahead. You know,
Yeah.
so that's awesome.
Well, it's interesting, you know, like sometimes, you know, obviously I'm not on contract, so I still go out for other things. And, you know, obviously your hat's back in the ring for other things. And the skill set that we have and the confidence that we have in this, in what we're familiar doing on GH or wherever, man, sometimes I forget that when I'm auditioning for other stuff. I'm like, oh my, it's good to remind ourselves that, oh man, we work fast and we're good.
Mm-hmm.
So like obsessing over a self-tape, obsessing over whatever it is, it's like, no, wait a second. I don't like, man, like we have the skill set to go, you know, go strong and go fast. Like, you know, like, man. So anyway, like I just seemed valuable to say that as you're putting your hat back in the ring for other stuff. It's like, don't forget that, right? Like, because I forget that sometimes, and more often than not.
We got to trust. We have to trust that, you know, the work that we have done, like it's, you know, it's there. Like we got this. Like there's nothing that we can't do,
right?
You know? And yeah, and like the obsessing over the self-tape, God, that's so easy to do, man. You know, especially because you have control. There's no urgency of like, oh, I only got 2 takes. Now it's like, I've got limitless, but then you get caught in that rabbit hole of like trying to perfect every little thing. And
yeah, I'm so happy I don't audition.
You missed it a little bit. Come on, man. Hey, by the way,
listen, I've done one self-tape and this guy helped me 7 years ago.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Time to call in more favors for him.
Yeah, I know, right?
Back in the self-tape world. Hey, but by the way, Last Castle, I don't know if I remember you telling me you were on that. But I don't know if I told you, man, that was one of those movies that I had watched probably 100 times. I watched that one and The Fast and the Furious and Tomb Raider a lot. James Gandolfini, Robert Redford.
Yeah, it was amazing. Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, man, it was a great movie.
It's no Tomb Raider, but
hey,
when she's got her nude back to you,
come on,
very watch excited. Out now.
Yeah. Well, hey man, you had a great run. We're so glad that you came into our universe. You know, getting to know you and getting to spend time with you has been a real joy. And I mean, there's no end in sight to that. So we're thrilled that you came into our world, man.
Well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate both of you guys welcoming me into Port Charles. You guys were both warm. And I learned a lot from both of you guys. So, yeah, man, hopefully,
hey, brother, best of luck, man.
And goodbye is never goodbye on daytime. I'm
excited. I'm excited for you, bro. Cause I know you have great work ethic and that's literally 80% of everything, right? Yeah. Like you keep plowing away, keep plowing forward like you're doing, you know, keep getting better.
And you've
the
already,
opportunities are coming. So
you're already making stuff. Like that's
huge.
That's huge.
Because I think we had this conversation though the first time when we had you on the podcast about creating your own. That's really the ticket, is creating your own stuff. I think we had that conversation with Johnny about that. And that's what's great. And now here we are a year and a half later, and you produced a movie and acted in it. And that's amazing, dude. Good for you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it's, you know, it's the only real type of security that you can get. You know, a contract is a suit of security. You know, it's more secure for the people that write the contract. You know, for you to be able to create your own content is giving yourself some power and some stability and security. You know, it's just 100%. Getting it to that point to where it's actually making you money. So
yeah.
But onward we go, fellas.
Yeah, dude.
It's a pleasure, Johnny. And if I'm ever
you
back
guys
up in
for having
LA,
me.
we'll have some dinner. So,
Sounds good. Sounds good.
I would say we go rock climbing, but I'll probably never rock climb with you.
no.
Man, anytime that you guys want to go, I could take you indoors too. We'll do some top rope. You know, be safe, man. Even if you get tired, I'll tell you to get off the wall, take a little break. I got you, dude. You want to go, I will take you guys.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Right,
Be
fellas.
well. We will talk
All
to
right,
you
Johnny.
soon.
Johnny Wachter.